Hi, you're listening to the Trinidad Podcast. We're your host, DJ Sin.
DG Trill.
and DJ Crazy.
Come and join us as we listen to the stories of domestic abuse victims and be inspired through their actions, wits, and bravery on how they overcame their situations and healed their scars. See you there!
This episode of the Trinidad Podcast may not be suitable for all audiences and may contain potentially harmful and sensitive content. Discretion is advised. Hello there. Welcome to the Trinidad Podcast, a podcast for women empowering women. For today's guests, we will be hiding them under the name Wallflower. Come and listen as they share their story of success and how they overcame their situation. So hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the pod. Here we have a guest. Of course, we don't drop the names of our guests. We keep them hidden as much as possible. We don't want to drop any kind of information. So I'd like you all to come. A good friend of mine. This friend of mine has been going through a lot. They don't really say it, but they have been going through a lot, especially in terms of domestic violence. Here at the Wheel podcast, at the Women Empowering Women podcast, we promote standing up for what's right. And of course, if that means you guys are going through a rough time, especially if you guys are going through something similar to domestic violence, do not be afraid to speak up. Speak up to the authorities. And I'm very, very sure that they will be able to help you guys. Okay? So, hello there. Welcome to the pod.
Hello.
Oh, how have you been?
I'm good.
You're doing good? Is this your first time doing like an interview like this?
Yeah.
Have you ever been interviewed before by anybody or one of your friends for something else? Maybe not like related to this topic?
Yeah, one time.
One
There was
time.
one time I got
Okay.
interviewed for their study.
Oh, for their study as well. Well, actually, you're in a bit of luck because this interview is also due to a study. So, the interview we're conducting right now is because we are, of course, we are women empowering women, and we want people to speak up about the cases that they're going through, like their experiences when it comes to domestic violence. So, since you are, of course, our guest, you have your fair share of domestic violence. You've experienced your fair share.
Yeah.
And where does this come from? Like, is this like a friend of yours or like a family member?
From a family member.
From a family member. Are they close to you? Like, do you see them on a regular?
Yeah, I live with them.
Oh, you live with them. So how was this experience living with them?
I guess you could say suffocating. Like you're very limited to the things you can do. And when you do what you want, um, they often uh, catch you and then
Like, they scold
I
you,
forgot the word.
pinapagalitan ka, ganon.
yes,
Yes, okay.
and they just make your life difficult,
I know it's not a laughing matter, of course, but when it comes to making your life difficult, may mga sitwasyon ka na bang naranasan in which nahirapan kang kumilos because of this person? Like, anywhere, like school-related, like nahirapan ka sa studies mo kasi pinagbabawal kang gawin ganito, ganyan, or like nalimit yung pakikisama mo sa mga kaibigan mo kasi lagi kang pagsasabihan, paggagalitan, or whatsoever. Any experiences like that?
Actually, na-affect yung pag-socialize ko. Kasi, parang,
Okay, when you say naapektuhan yung pag-socialize mo, did it like affect, like of course we are in a pandemic, did it affect like the virtual na pakikisama mo, or has this been a long going thing na ever since parang pagkabata mo, ganon?
ever since the pagkabata ko,
So,
Mm-hmm.
kasi, I'm scared to make mistakes. Parang I have to do everything perfectly
Mm-hmm.
based on sa paano niya ako tinatrato, ganun.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, I'm assuming that it has been really troubling for you.
Yes.
So, this person, since you actually live with them, and as you have stated, na mula pagkabata mo, kasama mo na sila. So, nahirapan yung pakikipag-socialize mo and your life. Are there other aspects like when it comes to socialization, natatakot kang did it affect you sa pagkakaibigan mo because natatakot ka rin na magkamali sa mga kaibigan mo because they treat you similarly? Is this like some sort of trauma response?
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
So it really is just a thing that na na-impose nila sa'yo to like strike fear in you na kapag nagkakamali ka, there's like immediate punishment?
Sort of. Yeah.
And I want to like focus on that. So when you say punishment, I know I use the term immediate punishment, but is the punishment really immediate?
Yes.
Oh, it is. And what kind of punishment is this? Is this like verbal or physical?
Actually, every aspect.
Oh my
Kasi
lord.
ipapunish kami.
Kayo.
Yung una yung mga petty punishments, like the punishments you get when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Na you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to play, you're only allowed to play at this hour. And then that's physically. And then parang emotionally pa or and mentally atakihin ka, like they'll guilt trip you
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Yeah.
And I want to go back a little bit there nung sinabi mo na kayo. So it's not just you.
Yes.
Okay. So do you have siblings?
Yes, I have to.
You have to. So all of you are affected by this.
Yes.
Okay. And I want to go back to one of the pointers that you said there. So these are like the childish kinds of punishments yung ini-implement sa inyo. So as you said, like pagbabawalan kayo maglaro or like ililimit yung oras niyo sa paglalaro ng ganitong oras, does that mean na you and your siblings are only like if you guys exceed those times, what's going to happen ba?
Well, worst case scenario is hindi kami palaruin completely.
Completely. Mm-hmm.
Also, parang magbibigay siya ng chore na utos na parang papahirapan kami.
Oh,
Or something that we don't like.
Mm-hmm. Can you give me like if it's okay with you, if it's okay lang with you to share, can you give like an example of yung utos na ganon?
Ano siya, chore, pero imbes na instead of doing it sa pinaka-convenient way, like, for example, I don't exactly remember, pero, for example, magwawalis ka sa room. So, may vacuum. Gagamitin namin yung vacuum, pero siya, pipilitin niya magwalis. Parang ganun.
Okay. And when did you find out that this kind of treatment was domestic abuse?
When I got to senior high school, that's when I realized na parang it's not, he's not just scolding us kasi we did something wrong. Pero it's more than that. Parang he's doing it excessively.
Excessively na.
Na pinapagalitan kami and all.
So, when you say pinapagalitan kayo, I want to like focus on this a little bit. When you say pinapagalitan pinapagalitan ba kayo in like, how do you say this? With like the intention of correcting your actions? Or is this like, pinapagalitan kayo na parang minumura kayo, minamaliit kayo, parang dinidegrade kayo? Both? How so?
With the intention of correcting us, pero sobra siya nanggigigil, which is hindi dapat.
Yeah. Like when you like everybody has their own way of correcting their kids, right? But to me
Yeah.
personally, when you're going to like correct your kids, of course, the best way to teach them is, of course, to
Explaining
yeah,
stuff.
explain it to them.
Or he
You
never
don't have.
does that.
Yeah. Oh, he
He
never
doesn't
does
believe
that.
in.
Talking calmly, explaining things, he doesn't believe in that.
When you say he doesn't believe in that, does this mean that he normally force his beliefs on you guys? Yung parang what he sees is right is the only right?
Somewhat, yeah.
Mhm.
I'd like to go a little bit deeper into the topic, and it's going to be a little bit harsher, but you can always say if you don't want to share or like
Mhm.
if it's being too much. Uh,
Okay.
so let's start since we've already tackled the verbal side of the domestic abuse. Has there been any cases of physical domestic violence?
Yeah.
And these cases, were they like uh, frequent or are they seldom pero grabe-grabe naman? Like, alam mo yung klase ng bihira na minsan ka lang minsan ka lang saktan physically pero gulpe kung gulpe ganon.
From what I remember, parang at least once every 2 months. Or like
Oh.
once every 3 months. Not,
So,
I can't exactly remember because I'm
mhm.
forgetful.
No. It's okay. It's okay. You know. It's also not an experience that everybody would like to remember, of course. It's like
Yeah.
a bad experience, di ba? Parang when something bad happens to you, it's not like you're going to like consistently flaunt it around or like tell stories about it everywhere na, ganito yung nangyari sa akin and ganito, ganyan. It's hard for other people to open up and sometimes they don't even want to remember what happens. And that's okay, it's valid. So since you said that it happens like every 2 to 3 months, so this is a frequent thing that happens.
I guess you could say that.
And this happens until today, or has it like died down?
It died down for a bit, pero now, hmm, baka anytime.
Okay. It's like the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you can feel it approaching, and that's actually kind of hard. Like if you can like feel it approaching, or like you have like senses or like your instincts. I perhaps this is like some sort, well, you could say that this is like a trauma response, that after some time of nothing going on you start to like get anxious that, oh my god, any minute now or like any moment now something is going to break out, like a
Yeah.
huge thing is going to break out. I feel like that's being anxious. And speaking of being anxious, has this contributed into the mental health side? Have these experiences contributed to like your mental health?
Yeah, malaki.
Oh, it's a huge impact. And as you stated earlier, it affected your socialization with others. So, with that being said, I'm assuming, or like this is just on my point of view, that you're now anxious. You're like anxious of all the things around you. Well, not really all the things, but most of the things around you.
Mhm.
So it has contributed to your mental health. Has this like contributed are there like anything else that you feel, so like depression, stress, extreme levels of stress and such from these experiences?
Puro anxiety.
Puro anxiety
Tsaka, yeah, stress din.
and extreme levels of stress, and that's really harsh, like
Yeah.
being stressed is one thing, but being anxious and stressed, that's like the one of the worst possible combos. Being anxious and on extreme levels of stress, that's really really harsh. Is this affecting your like daily way of living?
Anyway, anyway, yeah.
In a way it does. And when you say that it affects you daily, can you like give us an example, if that's okay with you? Give us an example of how it affects you on like a regular basis.
Sa productivity ko pa lang,
Mm-hmm.
parang feel ko lagi kasi ano siya, mahilig mag-micromanage. So,
Mm-hmm.
everything I do, ah, parang lagi siyang nakatingin. Parang nawawala yung, ah, bumababa yung productivity ko. And
Mm-hmm.
every time, so, kunwari, nagkaroon ako ng break from him
Mm-hmm.
na nag-scrutinize. Parang feel ko na overwhelming. Parang, di ko, instead na maging productive ako kasi nga wala siya.
Mm-hmm.
Parang, ewan ko, parang weird na anytime nandyan siya, ganun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No, so it's like you're anxious now that you're being watched all the time. Like you get this feeling that you're being watched all the time. Like despite them not being there, you feel that something like like as they say, like there's a disturbance in the force, and you feel like so you're being watched. It really affects the productivity sometimes when it feels like everything that you're doing is being watched. I personally wouldn't like that, like if I want to do something, like leave me be, like like let me do my own stuff on my own. I can manage on my own. You don't have to like watch me every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if it's the same with you, but my productivity levels whenever I'm being watched like lowers extremely. And if given your case, since you do feel like you're being watched all the time, and that being watched lowers your productivity, that's kind of that's kind of counterproductive if you're going to like ask me that like that would probably like set me off. That's going to like annoy me the entire day.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
That's what you feel. Okay. So we've covered most of the aspects, but I'd like to touch on another specific topic when it comes to this. Are you aware that domestic violence is not limited to mental, verbal, physical, but is also includes financial? Like there's such a thing called financial domestic abuse.
Ngayon ko lang siya narinig, pero siguro may idea ako.
Oh, okay, okay. So, since it's your first time hearing it, financial domestic abuse, and to everybody who is listening right now, financial domestic abuse is basically when the perpetrator controls your finances. So, they limit the money that they give you to like buy the stuff that you need, which are like basic needs for like a person. And sometimes it's not just limited to like the basic needs. Financial domestic abuse can include them watching every single stuff that you buy to like know that what you're buying actually has like a purpose and is actually contributing to like getting more money and such. And with that being said, have you experienced any such cases in which the finances that were given to you were like limited, inontian,
Deprived.
binawasan, deprived? Okay, that's the proper term. Like, were you ever deprived of like financial needs, or like the basic stuff you need to buy?
Well, not really. Since yung mama ko yung magmamanage ng
Finances.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pero may one time na I joke, scratch that. I can't remember.
It's okay, not everybody has like good memory, especially in this time. Everybody just has bad memory nowadays. That's what I personally believe.
Yeah.
Going back to that, domestic violence is really a very, very wide topic. And of course, one of the. I'd like to go back a little bit there. I'd like to go and focus a little bit on like on the verbal domestic violence. Since you did say that you and your siblings experience like verbal domestic violence coming from verbal domestic abuse from your perpetrator. Have there been any cases where this has been like extreme? So,
Mhm.
have there ever been times when you stood up for yourself whenever these things would happen? Like whenever the physical abuse or like the verbal abuse would start to happen, were there times when you'd stand up for yourself?
I actually often do that.
You often do that.
To the
Wow.
point na
It worsens the situation.
It worsens the situation. You are aware that it worsens the situation.
Yeah.
And you still proceed to do it.
Yeah.
Wow, you are one brave person. I have to give you that. I would have backed off.
Kasi kung paano ako pinalaki, parang palaban.
Wow, you were born and raised a fighter. Going back to that though, have there been any extreme cases where, let's say, you and your siblings were like being abused verbally, and then you stood up, and then like the abuse escalated, like bigla na lang kayong ginulpe, or like physical abuse started, or gaslighting, or any of the sort started happening? Have there been any cases such as that with you?
Really happens.
It happens.
For, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yung first mong binanggit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so uh, verbal abuse that escalates into physical abuse because you stood up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you, if it's okay with you, of course, can you like explain this a little bit further? Like, what happened? Like,
For example, may nagawa kami na hindi niya nagustuhan. So sasabihan niya kami ng pagalit na, and naka-raise na yung tone niya. Tapos, ako bigla may sasabihin na ayaw niya. And then magagalit siya lalo.
mm-hmm.
Kasi ayaw niyang dinedefend namin yung sarili namin.
Oh.
Kahit tama kami. He hates that. So,
my.
ayun yung madalas kong ginagawa. And then, mag-escalate yung situation na to the point na magiging physical abuse na.
You are really one brave person, despite knowing that the perpetrator actually hates it when you stand up for yourself. You continue to stand up for yourself. This is like true bravery. If I'd be completely honest with you, like very very brave of you.
Kasi, most of the time I'm quiet. I never speak up for anything for myself. So, it feels nice kapag kahit sa ganun. Alam ko naman yung consequence, pero masarap sa feeling na
Mm-hmm.
pinaglalaban ko yung side ko. Alam ko naman din kasing nasa
I'm in the right.
Mm-hmm. And that's very, very, a wonderful trait that you have. Keep fighting for what you believe in. With all of that being said, now I'd like to like go to the fighting part. Okay, so when I say fighting part, of course, we're not gonna go to like, have you ever walked up to them and like punched them back when they punched you? When I say fighting back, have you and your siblings done anything to stand up for this abuse in terms of legal ways? Like, have you approached the authorities? Have you reported the cases?
we haven't. Pero nagre-ready lang kami. Pag dumating yung time na need namin. So parang so just collecting evidence.
And that's good. That's like how do you say it? That's like a silent way of moving. Like, of course, the perpetrator wouldn't be aware that you guys are like already moving and such. But if you guys are like already collecting evidence, to like, in any case, you guys ever deem that the abuse is extreme already or like too much, collecting evidence right now and preparing is a good strategy, as I'd say. But since that was stated, I would like to go a little bit. I would like to tap a little bit on that topic. When is enough enough?
I guess kapag sobrang parang kinokontrol na kami. Like, we're not allowed to really do anything we want.
Mhm.
Pag naging very irrational na siya, wala nang very unreasonable na siyang magalit and stuff.
So, for you and your siblings, or like everybody involved in the abuse, uh, when right now are they still reasonable? Like, is the perpetrator still reasonable?
Not really.
Not really. Oh my lord. That probably means that the time is almost near. The time is almost upon us to like approach the authorities. But again, to everybody listening on the pod, or like to this audio, domestic abuse is not just limited to controlling what you guys want. Of course, the most extreme cases of domestic abuse includes restricting you of like the basic needs. A good example would be from our good friend here, of course, the socialization part. Socialization is like an essential part of being human. Like we need socialization, and of course, like a lot of people will say that, oh no, I can like live on my own, but socialization is like an essential part of being human. You need to socialize to survive, as sad as that is. Yes, I know there are some introverts out there like, hey, I can live on my own. Yes, you can. But you're gonna have to earn money, and to earn money, you're gonna need to socialize because you gotta talk to clients, you gotta talk to your boss, you gotta work, and when you're working, you have teammates, and you gotta work with your teammates. So socialization is like an essential part of being human. And as stated earlier, my friend here was affected. It affected their socialization skills, and of course, that affects like, your daily life already. So to everybody listening on the pod, if you guys feel like what our good friend here said, if you guys ever feel that the abuse is starting to be unreasonable, or like it's starting to become too extreme, do not be afraid to approach the authorities. Like what my friend is doing here, they are already gathering the evidence so that in any case that they go to the authorities, they already have all the evidence to back them up for it. If you are afraid to approach the authorities as of the moment, to like tell them what's going on, perhaps you can start with the subtle ways such as this. Start collecting the evidences that the abuse is happening around you, so that when you guys finally go to the authorities, everything is gonna be smooth sailing. A lot of people are like really afraid in these situations because sometimes the perpetrator themselves are the ones that provide for the family. Sometimes they're the ones that look out for the family. So it's like a scary thing. A broken family is the outcome of approaching the authorities. And since we are already on that topic, I would like to ask you a little bit more, a few more questions just on that side. Since you said that you live with them, are you and your siblings afraid that when you guys finally move, or like finally make the move to like bring this to the authorities, it's going to affect your family lives?
Yes, yes din, pero malaking parang hinga. Ay, ang tawag din. Parang ganun. Hindi ko alam yun.
Pero,
Para siyang it's like a weight has been lifted from your chest, ganon.
Yeah.
Okay, nakakagaan siya sa pakiramdam. Like parang hindi na kayo, like bawas pahirap in terms.
Mm-mm.
And to everybody listening here on the pod, I know that some of you may be afraid to approach the authorities, but as my friend here said, it's going to be like a huge help, and nakakagaan siya sa pakiramdam. Like you won't feel that uh, the that like there's someone breathing down your neck, watching everything that you do, and it's going to be worth it.
Yes.
Yes, it's worth it. So to everybody listening here on the pod, uh, take my friend's good advice here. If you guys are not ready to approach the authorities, gather the evidence silently, of course. If there are ways where you can like gather evidences, especially like photos, videos of the abuse, especially videos, videos are like the most solid form of evidence you can show to the authorities. Like, you can't, of course, it's like it can be edited, but it's going to be like super obvious if it was edited. If you can like gather the evidence, and so that when the time arrives that you finally approach the authorities, everything is just gonna be smooth sailing. You don't have to worry about anything. Don't be afraid to speak up about what's going on with you. uh, if you are ever afraid, we have local government units that can help us. We also have a woman's help desk. You probably have one in your barangay, and I'm very very sure that they're equipped with the right knowledge and the right connections to help you get out of your situation. So thank you very much for being our guest for this pod. Wow.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for actually letting us like conduct this interview. Of course, we don't drop names of who we interview. We just say that they're good friends of ours. Thank you very much to everybody who has listened to the pod.
Thank you for tuning in to the Trinidad podcast. For more episodes like this, follow us on SoundCloud and on YouTube. This is your host, DJ Crazy, signing off.